Leeds United are set to face off against West Brom, and welcome back to Elland Road. A lot of stuff has happened since we've been here. By a lot of stuff, I mean a match against Sheffield United, but it felt like a lot of stuff. And the Baggies are Leeds' next challenge. But I think things could be a very, very interesting affair due to a few little bits and bobs of history that have happened between the two clubs. But first, I've got a little bit of something to show you.
I'm in.
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 They're all in. Are you? And you can find out more about what all of that means tomorrow at noon. But first, I'm going to hop into the West Brom match and talk about some of the recent stats to do with Leeds versus West Brom, because I was looking into this and thinking things are looking incredibly promising, but then a little bit of the data confused me a little bit and made me feel a little bit less good. So we've not beaten them in a match since the first season back in the Premier League, which was the match where I think Pablo and Berardi both retired, because it had 8,000 people in there, and I know it was the COVID year, so that feels like that makes sense. In that time, we've lost one, so we've had 2 draws, but if I remember correctly, they were both under Carlos Corberán, and they're under new management now, which could push things in a slightly interesting, weird direction that sort of benefits us. But we do have a little bit of team news going into the match, with Ethan Ampadu out for a long time. He might be able to return by the end of the season, assuming he recovers reasonably well from his knee issue, but he could have his season just ended. Of course, we got to go through the obvious ones. Bamford and Voba are still not back properly, but the rest of the side are fit, which leaves us with a predicted lineup as follows. I'm going to go Ilham Melier in net because it just makes sense, because you don't change a goalkeeper that's fairly consistently been winning games of football with you. Backline, again, unchanged. Bogle, Rodon, Strauch, Firpo. That makes complete sense to me. Firpo and Bogle bombing on is one of the best tools that we have as a side, and Rodon and Strauch are a very good and consistent pairing, working with each other expertly. In midfield, I've gone with the Rothwell-Tanaka pairing just because I think that sort of works a little bit better at home when we are trying to take control of a match and build and put things in the right direction. In the sort of attacking midfield areas, I'm going Dan James, Brendan Aronson, and Manor Solomon. I feel like Manor Solomon's one-on-one dribbling could be especially useful in this match. I'll go into that in a little bit more detail later on, and as could Dan James's pace, with Joel Piroux finishing the run. Joel Piroux is currently the top scorer in the Championship. I think him retaining that position makes complete sense to me. But with all that sort of considered, we need to have a little bit of a think.
I'm in.
Sorry, I'm not entirely sure what happened there. We need to have a little bit of a think about how West Brom are playing themselves. So, they have been a lot more open under Tony Mowbray. Tony Mowbray being the new manager that's come in, and they hold a hell of a lot of possession now. You might have remembered against Carlos Corberán's sides, he didn't really like to hold the ball too much. His side were happy to yield possession and let the other club play with it in front of him, and he'd play the sort of defensive, solid game. Whereas Tony Mowbray's possession statistics so far in his time at West Brom have been 64%, 57, 62, 69, 60, 65, 46, 60. Only once has he not had more than half of possession, and only twice has he not gotten 60 or above % of the ball. This says that it's going to be quite the battle in the middle of the park to me, and it's led to some quite good performances from his side as well. They've scored 12, conceded 10 with him in charge, and it has them in that time as the 13th best side in the league with 1.38 points per game. But, interesting little statistic that I found, his opposition were the easiest in the league for that 8-match period. Over that period of time, the teams that he was playing against were on something like 1.1 points per game, so were very much weak. Like no other team's run of 8 matches was as easy as that one. So it could sort of be skewed data. It's really hard to tell. We are sort of the start of the big tests for his side at the moment. They also tend to play in a 4-2-3-1, which means that they'll match up quite well against us, but there's a little bit of a theory going that it could be a 4-3-3. Guess we'll find out tomorrow. Tomorrow? today. I'm recording this the night before, as always, but either way. There are some fairly big threats for Leeds as well, or should I say big threats to Leeds, things that are making us a little bit spooked. For example, Adam Armstrong, now at West Brom, was at Southampton. He scored 4 against us last season, and that is really spooky, really effective, very, very good player. And I hope that we're able to shut him down as effectively as I think we'll be able to, just because he's in a different system now. In addition to that, you got Josh Madger, who is definitely out. He's their top scorer, something like 12 goals this season so far, which means that he's the sort of threat that we're going to have to want to deal with very, very effectively, but he's not even there, so it's okay. Tom Fellows is also a very big threat. He's got 11 assists for them this season, and Alex Mowat provides a fair bit of danger from midfield. He himself is their second highest scorer in the league this season with 6, matching Karlan Grant only behind Josh Madger, which means that it's quite interesting looking at the way that Leeds could try to play this. I think we can expect to see some significant emphasis on transitional play and long through balls to Dan James and Manor Solomon and Brendan Aronson. They've got the pace to get this done. It's just about making sure that it happens. If we're able to get those fast transitions done, we'll ultimately leave them on the back foot, and I think we've got the quality to shine through in a transitional sort of boxing match style game of football. I think James and Solomon will also be key because you've got Styles on one side. Is it Callum Styles? For some reason in my head I had it as Harry, but that's definitely not the one. Callum Styles, who is, at least on paper, according to various algorithmic things, their worst of defenders that consistently starts for them. So Dan James targeting him would be incredible. And Furlong is 29, 30 years old, so Manor Solomon being able to properly get at him would be magnificent. It'll also be a potentially hard midfield battle, because looking at the middle of the park, they are very, very good at sort of stacking it out and retaining the ball. So ideally, we're able to win that fight. And I can see some crowd-pleasing football coming. I don't see us being scared of attacking because we're on such a good run of momentum at the minute. In terms of predictions, it's kind of hard to say. I can see an intriguing battle from control sort of playing out here, both sides wanting to have the ball because that's how you're not at risk, under threat. I found the one way of saying those words that didn't make sense. Well done, me. Dan James and Brendan Aronson will be key in my opinion, but I do think we are defensively solid enough. I'm going to go with a 2-0 lead. But 2-0 lead? 2-0 to Leeds. It's so late. But at the end of the day, that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's always really appreciated. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're not yet as well. That's also fantastic. Could even become a channel member. That's equally wonderful. Hope you enjoyed. I will see you later. Also in the comments, let me know what you think is going on with the tease things. Because I'm trying to be mysterious, but at the same time, I want to know what you guys think. Let me know. In a bit.